What do you think? Do I look good? No, didn't think so. Hello and welcome to the first episode in what I would hope to be a series of episodes on how to start a very budget electronics lab. Now, my name's Mark, and as you can see, the table behind me is completely bare. What I'll be doing shortly is putting together a few items that I've managed to source for a very reasonable price. And I think it's a good way of showing how, even if you haven't got a huge budget like a lot of YouTubers do have, how you can put together things for relatively low cost and certainly of a decent enough quality to be able to get yourself started. Now, what I plan to do with the channel in the future is to produce a series of videos that will showcase how to try to fix videos and some unboxings of preferably new items, but maybe I'll even box up some older items and give you a look at the unboxing experience of some things that you may not even have known existed. I think we're all fans of different YouTube channels out there, and they all offer something a little bit different, and if I couldn't offer something different myself, I wouldn't want to build a Me Too channel. But there's certainly some aspects that I've found personally quite interesting, and one of those is the how to fix videos. I'm no expert. I'm going to be winging it as much as anybody else, and I'm going to be using the kind of equipment that people may have lying around the house. Even this video is being filmed on a smartphone, a Huawei Mate 20X for those that are interested, sitting on a tripod on a £1.99 small phone holder that I got off a popular auction site. The desk behind me, don't know if you can see it, how well you can see it, it's quite big. 120 centimetres wide, I believe. I picked this up for free on Facebook. I'll give you a little picture of how I found it. And basically all I did was did a quick search for free office furniture. And no lie, it took probably 25 seconds to spot it and message the person that was offering it away. I did have to travel for it. I travelled about 40 miles for it, which is probably further than most people would, but 40 miles isn't particularly far. For me, I have an electric car, so it doesn't cost me anything in fuel per se. But yeah, really nice desk. Probably saved myself £100, maybe £150 on purchasing a desk from a shop. And I've helped somebody out by recycling the desk. And hopefully we'll see a few more things like that in the future. The seat I'm sitting on, again, same thing. Facebook, £5. Not the best seat in the world, but it's going to get very light use because I'm going to be probably standing up through most of my videos, unless I'm feeling lazy, and then you'll see me sat down. But what I'm going to start doing is placing some items on the table, and you can see what I've got so far and where we plan to proceed. So on with the first item. And here we go. Now we have it. So this is the Tenma Soldering Station, 60-watt soldering station. I'm going to do a full review and unboxing of this in the future. To be fair, it's been unboxed for a while, this, but I've really enjoyed using it. And to be honest, I think when you're reviewing a product, it's no good just opening it up when it's brand new, because you don't really know what it's about. You don't know if it's any good. You don't know whether it's gonna work for you. All you know is that it looks good in a box, and that when you unbox it, all the bits are there. So I like to use things before I actually give them my honest seal of approval. And if I say that there's something I like it for a reason, you know. And likewise, I dislike something for a reason, because I also believe that when you review a product, quite often when people are looking to purchase that product, they look for the bad things, not as much as the good things. I know I do. I search for anything that's got a 1-star review. I want to know what the 1 star was, because I want to know what was bad about it. Is there a million of these failing? Well, to be honest with you, I've had no issues with this, and I've had it now for about 8 months. It's been really good. It gets the temperature super quick. One thing I do like about it is that it's actually got the compatibility with Hakko style soldering tips. So again, I went on the internet sites and had a look around to see what sort of assorted packs I could get. And there's loads and loads of different tips you can get that are Hakko compatible, and this just takes them straight away. So really pleased with that. I'm going to show you a few other things that I've got that I think are pretty much essentials, because it's no good being able to take something to pieces if you can't solder or in fact desolder. See the link there. The components that you want to take out and replace. So with that, oh, here we go. We've got the only way I could find to desolder if you're an idiot. And to be honest with you, I'm no expert in soldering or desoldering, but I'm getting there, and as with anything, practice makes perfect. So I've been out and purchased myself a desoldering station. Now I saw this on the internet, and I'll be honest with you, this has been an absolute find. I've really enjoyed using it. This is I got this from CPC, which that isn't a plug for CPC. I'm not sponsored by anybody. These videos are not sponsored yet, so hint hint, if anybody wants to come and sponsor me and let me put your products on the market and on the channel, then let me know. But this is the Duratool Desoldering Station. It does say soldering station, but it's the D00672. I believe there's a few different models, but they all do roughly the same thing. It's an 80-watt soldering station. It's a Chinese-built one. From memory, I paid £70 for the soldering station. That's a 60-watt Tenma. The model on the Tenma, just so you know, is not on the box. No idea. Just says Tenma soldering station, and there's no model number. If I find it, I'll put it on the screen somewhere about now. If I don't, you never saw anything, just me waving my hand in the air. But this desoldering station, absolutely brilliant. Again, I'm going to do a proper unboxing style thing for it, so you can see what it's all about. Made in China, works really well. Few little things I don't like about it, so stick around for the full detail of that one. But you can see the table's starting to get some things on it now. So that's my desoldering station in its box. I'm going to get that out in another video. I'm not going to do any flashy effects for this, because this is something that I saw in a few videos, and I wondered how it would work and whether it would be any good, and I'm hoping that it's in focus. But so you can see this is the MESR100. It's an ESR meter, and what I love about this little meter is actually great. It's designed, it's got one use, and that is it. And I like meters with one use because it generally does one thing really well. Now what this will do, this will actually show you the ESR of a capacitor while it's in circuit. So no more taking capacitors out of circuit to test them. With this, you just probe them up while they're in circuit, and it comes up clearly on the display what the ESR of the capacitor is. And in many cases, it will actually tell you whether the capacitor's good, whether it's got a low ESR, and at the very basic, what it does is it'll tell you the ESR rating, and you can compare that on the little graph at the on the little gauge at the bottom here. So on a 10 volt 22 microfarad capacitor, it should have a worst case electrolytic capacitor rating of 5.4, and if it's over 5.4 on the display, you know that it's a bad capacitor and you can investigate further or just pull it out and replace it. Really love this product because everything's got capacitors in it these days, so that's another product I'm going to be giving a bit of a review to. But very impressed with that. I'm going to place that just here. Likewise, I've also got myself a little multifunction tester, a TC1 tester. Now what this does, this tests all the different various components. So you've got diodes, you've got resistors, capacitors can also be placed in here. You place the component in the little slot, you power it up, and what it'll do is it'll tell you on the screen whether that capacitor is working, whether it's not working, and what value it is on the display. At the moment it's just showing no part in there. But I really like this product. It even tests infrared. Now I'm not really sure why you'd want to do that, but it's for, I suppose, if you wanted to pull the codes or something out of a remote control, if you were programming remote controls. But I've basically wired this one up with an old BlackBerry battery inside out of an old telephone. So you can now charge it up because it's got an inbuilt charger for lithium ion. So I haven't even had to charge that more than once since I got it, and that was probably a few weeks ago. But really good and really inexpensive. I mean, this meter here cost me £40. So again, not a huge amount of money for what it does. I'll turn it off because the battery will probably cost me more than the meter. There we go. This little meter here was, I think it was £13. So again, very inexpensive, not expensive at all really for what it was. The desoldering station cost me, how much was that? I think that was £80 for the desoldering station, the Duratool Desoldering Station. Now again, there's various ones available all over the place. I'm not plugging a particular one, but most of the cheaper desoldering stations are pretty much the same thing with a different name. So that one from a reputable company with a reputable brand on it, £70 for that. Sorry, £80 for that, £70 for the soldering iron. We're still in pretty reasonable figures for putting everything together. Now, of course, you can't just use those. You always have to have your trusty bottle of IPA because you need to clean things, and IPA seems to be the way to go. Isopropyl alcohol. I actually got this one. That's how long this stuff lasts. I've got this one from Maplin. Now, the date today is July the 15th, I think, 2019. And I got this years ago from Maplin's, and Maplin's is long gone. So that's how long that stuff lasts. Now then, what do you think? Do I look good? No, didn't think so. I don't wear glasses, and I can tell you straight that whatever glasses I ever put on, I always look like a bit of a balloon in. But these are really, I'd say they're good, but they're not really. They're a bit useless. But I just went for a 3x optical zoom. I think they are. I just wanted a pair of optical zoom glasses so that I could look at circuit boards a little bit closer. They're okay. The field of vision isn't particularly good on them, which means that when you do have to get quite close to the product in order to actually be able to see what's going on. And if you look away, everything else is way out of focus and not too good. They have got little lights on them. They were only cheap, these. I think they were £2.99 off eBay, and you know what, for £2.99 they're okay. They took forever to come through. They're alright. I'd put them in the 3-star, even at £3 category, because they could do a lot of things a lot better. And I mean, the LEDs, as much as it's got them, they're not really bright enough to be useful. So they are what they are, and they'll help me read little things on the bottom of they'll help me read the little circuit board markings if I need them. Now then, multimeter, everybody's essential tool. This is the Brymen 869 multimeter. Really starting to enjoy using this one. I got this about 2 weeks ago, so I'm still getting used to using it. I've had it out of the box, I've been playing with it, I've been using it as diagnosis tool for an amplifier that I'm fixing at the moment, which will be in a subsequent video. Now what this is a 50,000 count multimeter. It does AC, DC, also does temperature as well, and inductance, conductance, resistance, diode checking, the whole lot really. A bit of a jack of all trades. Multimeters, as I'm sure many of you already know, a bit of a multi-tool for like having an adjustable spanner, I suppose. Really, it does a lot of things, and it'll do a lot of sizes and replace a lot of things in one. One thing I don't like about this one so far is the conductance testing. I'm finding that when you do your conductance testing and you get your little beep, that it's a little bit stuttery sometimes. It can give a few false readings, and I'm wondering whether that's a probe issue, whether that's something to do with the meter itself, whether I'm using it wrong. But I've actually got another meter coming shortly, which I'm going to use as a bit of a comparison. A little bit less on the specs compared to the Brymen, but similarly priced. A Mega Avo 835, which I've got coming in the next day or so. And I'll be doing an unboxing of both of these so you can see them both in more detail. I want to see really what you get in the mid range. I mean, this sort of thing. If you're spending any more than this, you're going to go and buy a fluke. I mean, the flukes are pretty much the de facto standard when it comes to electricians or electronics multimeters. But you pay probably twice the price for the equivalent features on a fluke. This one does things like data logging and data capture, built-in Bluetooth, all kinds of wacky stuff, and a lot of features I won't ever need. But it does it at a price point, I think I paid £180 for this. So in terms of price, I don't think you can really go wrong with the Brymen. It was really well regarded in all the forums, on all the media I actually sought out trying to find a new multimeter. Although I preferred the look of the Mega, if I'm totally honest with you. But I couldn't find enough information on it to be able to commit myself to spending a few £100s of money, which, as you can see, I've not got a huge amount of. for something that I'm really going to be depending on as being pretty much my sole meter. Now at the time I wasn't expecting to be able to get hold of the Mega as well. Thank you very much to Mega for sending me that as a bit of a review sample. But at the time I needed to make a decision, and to be honest I couldn't ignore the fact that this had got so many good reviews of so many people. Even one guy who makes videos over on the EV blog, he tried to destruction test this thing and it took like 1200 volts or something like that. It was like proper way over what it should take in order to actually break it. And I thought, you know what, that's right on my street, because I'm a bit ham-fisted. I may plug in the wrong thing, I may end up breaking it, and if I do break it, I'd rather break it than break me. So from a safety perspective, it's Cat 4, 1000 volt, really, really highly rated. Some things, as I say, I don't like, but I'm still getting used to it, and we'll go through that properly in a proper unboxing in the future. They also do an 867, which is very similar, just slightly less accurate, and doesn't support temperature readings. But for the most part, this is pretty much the same thing. And I wanted temperature because I want to be able to measure things like water temperature, also temperature of components, processors, anything that that's getting hot. I need to be able to measure it. So really good meter, highly recommended, and certainly for 180 UK pounds, it was a great purchase. That. So those are the basics. I've got a few accessories that I'll just quickly go through. Automatic wire strippers. Not the best in the world again, but they certainly do the trick for me. Now, these will do most sizes of cables. I think they go from something like 10 American wire gauge all the way to 30 American wire gauge. So really nice broad spectrum of wire strippers, and they strip really quickly. So I'll show you them in a future video as well. Really like these. I have a built-in wire cutter. Never really used that, but they have a wire cutter as well. I think I paid about £10 for these, maybe £12 because I wanted them in orange because I like the colour. So I'll pop them there. Can't solder without having solder, so this was the Duratool solder that I picked up. CPC Farnell, just down the road, and if you want to know where I'm based in the UK, then that might give you a clue. Diameter of this is 0.7mm, really don't mind it, it's been good stuff. It's just a rosin core solder wire. You can use this on anything up to about 120 degree components. Anything higher than that you don't want to melt your solder, so that'll do for most things. I wouldn't want to repair a pair of GHD straighteners with them, but certainly a decent enough solder for hi-fi, TV, most electronics. So pop that there. I bought also a lead-free flux dispensing pen, don't like wastage, so that lets me get straight in where I want the flux and I can just put it straight on. Give it a nice douse of flux, and that helps with soldering and desoldering, and it's lasted absolutely ages. I think that was about £5 from the same place I got the solder, so really useful. A pair of wire snippers. These are good for snipping components, the ends off resistors, capacitors. Recently had to go around a board, a Cambridge Audio Azure 651A amplifier, which I'm working through repairing, and to be honest it's been a bit of a pig. It's just a nightmare of dry solder joints, strange results in the continuity of things. I found board issues, all kinds of different problems, and yet the item seems pretty much like it may have even never been used. There was components missing. Clearly they must have fallen out, the joints were that bad on it, but I'll bring that up in a future video. But this has been really useful for just snipping the ends off and making sure that everything's nice and tidy. A couple of pound off eBay. These glasses, magnification, I think it's 3 times. If someone wants to send me a proper circuit board magnifier or a light with a magnifying glass on it, I would love you to bits for that. You know, I mean, every little helps, and I'll take donations of anything. So, you know, brilliant. I'm actually looking for an oscilloscope. I'd love to get hold of an oscilloscope so I can start learning how to diagnose component related issues. So if anybody wants to get in touch regarding those as well, you can get in touch with me either via YouTube or via Twitter. My Twitter is EVMYT1, so at EVMYT1, you can get in touch with me, direct message. If you want me to feature any of your items, any of your products, if you want me to show anything related to what you do, please get in touch, and we'll have a chat and see whether it suits the channel and whether it's something I can do. Also, got these little tiny probe things. Now these came with the TC1 Tester, and I really like these. Not because they're built particularly good, they're not, they're built terribly. They're built of plastic and they've got a spring in them that could have only been the cheapest spring they could find in China. But what I will say is that the little action, the way that they latch onto the cable and then spring back and hold in place, really quite cool. I really like the way they fit on. Now, if somebody's aware of this kind of mechanism in a larger setting for something like a multimeter, please let me know in the comments so that I can look into purchasing one of those, or if you want to send me one, please do. Because I really like that. I think that's quite a natty way of clipping onto a cable. Certainly good for clamping onto something like a diode, or onto a transistor. You can get right onto the legs and it holds it in place, so you can take a measurement. I really like that. They, as I say, they came free with the TC1. They're not great built. They'll probably last another week before they fall to bits, but certainly something more permanent would be ideal. And finally, I got this solder wick. I really don't like it. If there was ever a single motivation to buy in the desoldering tool, this is it. All I find with this is a 1.5mm desoldering wick. It's a piece of copper basically, and you put it on the component and you heat it up with a soldering iron and it melts the solder into the copper, in theory. In practice, I find it just is an excuse to heat up the board, damage the board, leaves a mess behind, doesn't take the solder out of the holes, and I just never warmed to it. I've never liked it. Now, it could be that I've just bought a particularly bad one, but I've never liked it, never warmed to it, and I would recommend people buy a desoldering station because it just takes all the guesswork out. You put it over the prong, you hit the button, it melts the solder, sucks the solder off, and you have a component left behind that is almost immaculate. You can take components out, you can put them back in, you can switch them around. Honestly, the desoldering station is by far the way to go, but if you can't afford £80, this is about £3. Much cheaper, much worse, but some people swear by it. I hate it, but I keep it just in case I ever need it. Well, that's basically everything. Those are the bits I've got so far. I'd love it if anybody wants to get in touch with me with maybe an oscilloscope. I'd love to get hold of an oscilloscope. I've got a screen that's going to be going at the back that will help me to get up close with certain components and hopefully get some better close-up views. And in the future we'll be looking at repairing some items. I've got an amplifier currently already being stripped down, which I'm working on. I've had components out of it, I've had capacitors out of it, I've had transistors out of it. I've been basically going around it with a fine-tooth comb trying to find faults. It's had issues with basically the board. I've had broken wires. I've had to repair broken wires. I've had to go through it with a fine-tooth comb. Hopefully it'll make for a good video, but at the moment I've got about 15 hours of video that I just need to kind of etch down into a realistic sort of time scale. I've got a mixer that I'm going to be fixing. I've got CD players that are going in for repair. I've even got a pair of GHD straighteners that got donated a few days ago that don't work, that I've got to have to take apart and have a look and see if we can investigate and find what the problem is. So there's loads and loads of content coming, as well as the unboxings for the products you see here, and also for the Mega 835 multimeter, which will be here today or tomorrow with any luck. So I hope you've enjoyed the video, and if you have, please like it, share, subscribe, and tune in for any future updates, and click that bell icon if you want to see any more. So thanks for watching. Bye.